Views and opinions of any of the guests of After Hours AM are not necessarily the views and opinions of After Hours AM, its hosts, its staff, or any of its affiliates.
Welcome to the After Hours program.
Are you ready?
It's alive! It's alive! It's alive!
Now broadcasting live from the After Hours AM studio, Joel Sturgis and Eric Olson.
Kiss your lips, I got a gun in my pocket, got a tiger in your hips. 9 months later on the other side, my baby and me, we had a devil child. Devil child, got glowing eyes, a pointed finger and a farewell. Devil child, got souls of mine, my baby had a devil child. See the night through the wish of his eye. A dead child of guns, blood, a favorite drink. A child to the devil card. Devil child got going.
And good evening, everybody. Welcome to this edition of After Hours AM. I'm your host, Joel Sturgis, right along with me,
Eric Olson.
and boy, do we have a full show for you guys to digest tonight, because speaking of digesting, we will be going over the newest film, It. Yes, that It, the Stephen King It, that has been turned now into a full-length feature film. And this is not a remake of the 1990s It, the miniseries. This is a standalone film. This is the first one in that, I guess, twosome, because it's Chapter 1, Chapter 2. We'll be covering that, as well as we're also going to be talking about a little bit of paranormal news, and we'll also have your headlines, plus we're going to be talking with Scott Porter tonight of the Tennessee Wraith Chasers, top of the hour. You're not going to want to go anywhere. You're going to want to hang out right there, turn up the radio, turn off the lights, hang out with us for a couple hours. Right, Eric?
By golly, you are so correct. Yeah,
Yeah.
we got all kinds of cool paranormal news to check out. We got other headlines of assorted type and ilk. And as you mentioned, the Tennessee Wraith Chasers have expanded their scope. They've moved from haunted asylum to entire haunted town.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. I watched the episodes along with everybody else. A lot of people are digging it. I like them all. I mean, it's a very well put together show. I enjoy watching it, and that's saying something, because as I've said on the show before, a lot of paranormal shows put me to sleep, where I'm like by the time it's done, simply because, you know, been there, done that kind of feeling. But the Wraith Chasers are a little bit different. They got that southern flair going for themselves.
Well, they do indeed, and you're like you say, yeah, they're a fun bunch. They have a lot of personality. They're not afraid to show a little spirituality, mix a little spirituality in with the scientific paranormal investigation, and we like that, being spiritual people ourselves.
Sure.
And yeah, they do a good job, and obviously they have become popular enough that it's not really about the show so much as it's about them. So this is their second show. Actually, I guess it's their third show, technically.
Yeah.
But it's their second full-length show.
Yeah.
And so good for them.
Yeah, very, very cool. And we'll be talking again. We're going to have Mr. Porter at the top of next hour. So you're going to want to definitely tune in for that. Take a listen. I'm sure Scott will have a lot to talk about, being that he is the historian of the group. And so that's always interesting to talk history and historical record and hauntings, as well as everything else, Wraith Chasers. Like I said, hang around to the bottom of the hour. And another thing that I really enjoy, to be honest with you, I recently picked up Destination America as a package. See, it was not offered on my cable company, didn't offer it on that tier.
A pox upon them.
Exactly, and so I thought, well, hell, we have a great relationship with them. I suppose I should actually watch the channel, and if you do not have Destination America, it's a pretty damn good channel. And so you're going to want to get that
all
the time, and you're going to want to get that because if you're a fan of Paranormal Witness and the old Discovery Channel show, A Haunting, which is on there, and right there, I love that show when that was on. And then of course you have your
Ghost
normal
Brothers.
Yep, you have your normal programming, Ghost Brothers. You have Nick, who's got a couple shows on there, Nick Groff. You have, of course, the Wraith Chasers. You got wait a minute, Amy and Adam. They got a show on there, Kindred Souls too. So. It's
I think they rerun them on there, but they're going primarily on TLC.
That is what I've been watching lately too. Is a lot of the properties are making the jump over to the TLC, which makes a lot of sense. Let's just be honest. It gets to a wider audience at a lower tier of the cable box.
Yep.
And so that makes complete sense. Now, Eric, the other night, yesterday, in fact, before yesterday's show, we had a great show all about 9/11. I really want everyone, if you haven't heard really what it's like to be at Ground Zero during the 9/11 attack, I mean, I can't even believe it's been 16 years already. But
I can't.
You're going to want to download that show because it brings you right back to September 11th, but it also gives you an eyewitness account of what happened that fateful day. So definitely go ahead and download that. I think you all would be very, very surprised and pleased all at the same time. Surprised of really what it really looked like on the ground floor, Ground Zero, but also pleased at the American spirit that we have. We're very resilient people, and that's something that came through post 9/11. So everybody go ahead and tune into that show. And, of course, if you haven't done so, on Tuesday, we had a pretty darn good show as well, and that of course, was from another Destination America talent. We had Lori Johnson on the show, on the Tuesday show, and that is, of course, After Hours AM Deeper's Cut. And that is up for download as well. Man, I'm just a chatty Cathy over here.
Get up for the downstroke. I mean the download.
Exactly. Now,
the download.
Yeah, exactly.
Everybody get up.
Stroke. Well, who did that? Billy Squier, right? The Stroke?
Billy Squier did the Stroke. I was relating a P-Funk song. Get up for the downstroke. I mean the download.
Wow, I've never heard that one.
Everybody get up. Yeah,
get up.
Check out P-Funk.
Get up.
Check out P-Funk.
I will have to check them out. Are they older? Are they newer? Or what are they? What are P-Funk?
They are eternal. Parliament,
Eternal.
Funkadelic.
Okay, gotcha.
They're in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Gotcha, that's right. The Funkadelics.
George Clinton's band.
Yeah.
Or bands.
We want the funk. Gotta have that funk. We want the funk.
100% correct.
The great stuff. But last night, before the show, I went and saw the movie It. And I had been meaning to go see that movie, It. And finally, I went to see It, and it was 4 o'clock in the afternoon, hoping to avoid every teenager in the free country with their cell phone out texting. Thank God. I know it makes me sound like a curmudgeon, but I hate going at the prime time because you always got those people on their cell phone, BSing, texting, doing all that crap. But
you're right.
This go around, it was very small. There was maybe 10 people in the theater, and it was really, really not the greatest movie I've ever seen, not the worst. But do you, Eric, believe that It lived up to the hype?
Let's see. Because I saw it as well. I saw it Saturday with my youngest son, who's 13. He really wanted to go. And when the time came, there was a little trepidation there. Ooh, I'm going to an R-rated horror movie with my dad.
To relive those days.
So he is quite the film buff. He sits there on his computer or his iPad or his phone, kind of any time he can. He watches videos, he watches clips, he watches reviews, he watches all these reviewers on YouTube. So he may not have seen the movie, but boy, has he seen the reviews. So anyway, he's pretty sophisticated in his taste, and he liked it a lot. I liked it too. I would have to kind of categorize it. I don't think it's exactly what people expect when they think of a horror movie. It's almost more of a thriller, kind of like a fantasy thriller or a paranormal thriller. It's not really horror per se, in that the one thing I noticed, the really, really intense horror movies, and I guess what we call the best, if that's what that means, are the ones that hold you in dread or in suspense kind of the whole time. They're relentless. They don't let go. This one had a lot of breaks. There's a lot of humor. There's a lot. We learn a lot about the interaction between the kids, the characters. We learn a lot of backstory. So really, there's a lot of breaks. It is not sustained suspense. I didn't come out of there, with my stomach hurting from clutching it, clenching it the whole time. But on the other side of the coin, it's a very well made movie. It really hangs together well as a film. It looks good. It's extremely well acted. The kids are really good. I didn't even recognize any of the adults. I mean, at all. It's not a big name cast by any means. It's a lot. It's newcomers other than Finn Wolfhard, who came over from Stranger Things. And so, of course, everyone recognizes him, and he's a name now. But beyond that, it's just mostly fresh faces, and it was definitely an ensemble kind of acting. And it was great. It was really well done. I thought it was well written. I mean, did I really, really ultimately buy into the reality, the existence of this thing? Not exactly. But, I mean, I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I enjoy.
How do you feel about it? Tell me.
I think a world's welcome about the hour and a half mark. I was actually caught myself several times looking at my watch, which is a bad sign during a movie. If you're looking at your watch to see how much time is left till the movie's over, that means it's lost you. And that's what I was doing at parts of the movie. It wasn't horribly done at all. It was kind of slow, in my opinion. It was in no way the horror movie that people were trying to make it out to be. You're absolutely correct. It wasn't something that would make you go, oh my God, that was the best horror movie I've ever seen since the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. No, it was not. If you're looking for that kind of movie, you're going to the wrong theater. This is more of a psychological thriller. I also relied a lot on jump fear too. Those little moments of jump fear. Pennywise is well acted.
I thought he was good.
Not
really
too bad. Not too bad at all. He does a pretty good job playing Pennywise. And who is that actor again these days? I'm looking
Skarsgård.
at it. That's who it is. And he's a Swedish-born actor.
He's yet another Skarsgård. He's the third or fourth acting son of Stellan Skarsgård.
Yeah, and he did a really good job in that one. I thought he did pretty good. Now, in the miniseries everybody saw, of course, is what it's compared to, which is like trying to compare an apple to an orange. I do believe Tim Curry made a better Pennywise. I thought he was more animated.
This was kind of an update, I thought. Go ahead.
I thought Tim Curry, as far as playing Pennywise, is a more of an animated actor, which he always has been. That was his claim to fame, was the way he could animate his roles, like a Rocky Horror Picture Show. I mean, my gosh.
He is certainly animated.
But overall,
no question.
The movie and the miniseries have nothing in common. The stories are, of course, going to intermingle quite a bit. But at the end of the day, the movie holds up. I would give it a good 4 stars out of 5. It lost me, I guess, towards the middle. It kind of drug out a little bit, in my opinion. It could have been done in 2 hours instead of 2.5. They could have got rid of some of the more parts that we just didn't really care about. You see what I'm saying, Eric? And I'm sure, did you ever feel that way? That maybe
I thought it was long.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, this could have been a 2-hour movie. This didn't need to be a 2.5-hour movie. We could have gotten everything put in 2 hours. Pennywise on the screen, he does translate, but there are points where it's extremely CGI'd, and that kind of lost me as well, the believability, where I was looking at a CGI cartoon character rather than an actor. But when he was acting, when it was clear that it was Skarsgård acting, he did very, very well. Overall, I think what they could have done is they could have made this movie in my opinion, what they should have done. Now, this is breaking up into two movies. Now, I'm not that excited to go see the second one because if it's wears out its welcome like the first, I will wait till DVD. But that being said, it's a good movie on its own merits. I do believe that they probably could have, if they really wanted to, they could have taken that, made that into one movie, merged it, and then got it done with about 3 hours.
Yeah, I think that's true.
You know, but anyhow, it was good all the way around, and because the book wasn't all that great, in my opinion, it was a good novel, but not a great novel.
It's a long novel.
It's was a 1,139 pages,
and that's a lot.
That is a lot. That's a lot of pages to digest it. I mean, you got to be really into that book to go through all 1,138 pages. Thank God for Audible. Right?
Goodness.
You know, you can sit down and bang that out in, an afternoon if you really wanted to. But overall, it's a good movie. Better than what I have seen in a long time as far as new horror stuff, because you know me, I'm an old school horror guy. And I remember growing up when Friday the 13th was all the rage. And I remember everybody going, oh, you could go see, at that time, I do believe it was part 5. And my mother wouldn't let me go, and I snuck out with some friends to go see it. Boy, did I catch hell, but I was so happy I got to go see that thing. It was awesome back in those days. That's the kind of movies I wish they'd make again. Ones that just really captivate the audience.
Well, as I was saying, this is kind of something different, and hey, you can't argue with success. We should mention this is by far, by 3 times the biggest horror opening of all time.
Yeah, no, definitely would have taken $217.8 million at the box office so far.
Yeah, that's pretty staggering.
That's good.
Worldwide, I believe that is.
Yeah.
But it's amazing. So it really is kind of a phenomena already, and I think it's transcending. It's not just the straight horror audience. I think you're getting others who are there who are into the interaction between the kids, more the character study, who are into the suspense, into the action. The end is almost more like an action film than a horror film as far as the staging of the final battle between the kids and Pennywise, that kind of thing. But, it's not my favorite of all time, but I think it was very well done as a film. I think it's a little bit, the tone is maybe a little off from what I was looking for, perhaps, from a quote-unquote horror standpoint. A little bit too light at times and a little too long, a little too drawn out. If you want to sustain that suspense, shorter is better. But we're going to find out in part 2 what happens 27 years later.
Yeah, that's clearly just them trying to make money.
When they're all adults.
That's all that is, the money grab. Trying to get 2 box office openings. Because I do remember a movie I recently watched was The Hateful Eight. And originally that was supposed to be broken up to 2 movies.
Oh, really?
And that's why it was so long. And they decided to make it into one. They condensed into one film, which worked out so much better. I'm not sure if you've seen that movie, The Hateful Eight.
I have.
But it's a graphic film. It's definitely graphic towards the end there. It's very graphic. But really, it was
brutal.
It was a very brutal movie. It was a good movie. My favorite to this day, and there's a lot of them, but my recent Stephen King adaptations, barring the old Pet Sematary stuff like that, would still be 1408.
I thought that was really scary. And once he was in that room, I believed it.
Yeah,
I believed that room was out to get him. That room was alive or possessed.
But
it was
John Cusack made that film, though. His acting was so stellar.
I thought that was great. I agree. It was really scary. It absolutely freaked me out, I got to tell you.
Yeah, and it made me think about going to hotel rooms again.
I know.
Boy, I don't know if I'm going to a hotel anytime this soon. But what's your favorite King adaptation of the recent, let's just say, the OOs?
I'd have to ponder what has been out in the OOs. Some of my favorites, looking at the big picture, aren't really even necessarily, the horror ones. Well, I mean,
Shawshank
Misery
Redemption was great. Misery.
Shawshank is classic. Misery, which I mean, it's horrifying. I don't know if it's horror, but it sure is horrifying. Yeah, I mean, we're definitely going back further than the OOs, but yeah, Misery I think was really amazing. Shawshank was amazing. Stand By Me was amazing.
Yeah.
That really is extremely well done. Talk about a kid ensemble. Every one of those turned out to be big. One of those kids from that film turned out to be big stars.
Yeah, they did. And I like Shawshank. The Green Mile was a great movie. That was another King property. He wrote that. I mean, there's a lot of great King stuff out there, and it is in the top 10, I would say, in that top 10 of that list. It's one of the movies that that they made for TV, and I wish they'd make a movie out of it. Of course, was The Storm of the Century. That would make for a hell of a movie.
Yeah, have you watched, or I guess I don't know if it's on break. I don't think it was over for that first season, although maybe it is. The
Mist.
The Mist. Have you seen it?
I watched a little bit of it.
Spike.
Yeah, did you like The Mist? I just wasn't feeling The Mist. It lost something between the film and the series. The little bit of magic was lost. And that very well could be because of the restrictions of television.
Oh, it was pretty graphic, and there was swearing and whatnot.
Yeah.
It wasn't TV; it was cable. Put it that way.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. It wasn't horrible. It wasn't. I see the movie to me. Especially that end part, and that everybody talks about the surprise ending. I won't spoil it for anyone that's never seen The Mist, but if you haven't seen The Mist, you need to crawl up from under your rock and go see The Mist. It was really well done. I like that movie and the way it took place all in a grocery store. I mean, talk about utilizing set and utilizing just fear of claustrophobia.
Yeah, right. To be
stuck,
confined in such a way, right?
Exactly. But it's all. Now your son. Go ahead, sir.
I was just gonna say I'm looking for a list. I'm going through my Twitter feed here, which we'll be getting to actually quite soon. But it wasn't today, so I was trying to find it. There's actually a recent list of.
I put it on the I put on the After Hours AM America's Most Haunted page. Over at Facebook, there is a comprehensive list of all the King properties that are successful that have been made into films.
It's an unbelievable volume. I mean, it's crazy. How could there be that many? But I mean, you see how he's made the kind of money he's made.
Oh, he's made oodles and oodles and oodles of money. And that being said, let's segue into something kind of sort of along the same lines, and then stick with television. Now, I want to qualify this article by saying most of what's in this article is fake. The Zach Baggins, just a big old fraud, ? Article that was released. A lot of the stuff that is cited in this article, I'm not going to go into detail. Most people read it by now, but a lot of the listeners came to me and asked me what I thought. A lot of this was already released on a website called Empire News back in the day. Remember Empire News? Eric,
yeah.
They were a satire, fake news outlet, and they at that time, they're the ones that headlined that Goodwin to be ejected from Ghost Adventures, the show, and that was not the case at all, and of course he had to come out and defend himself. Well, what happens in this article is the author of this particular article from, where is this from? Let me double check my source, TV Overmind, drew extensively from that older article, and really,
it's not like Aaron ever left the show. I mean, they make it sound like he bugged out of there, and he didn't.
Yeah. I mean, he says Goodwin claims there are more reasons to suspect Ghost Adventures is less than truthful. For example, there was times when one person on the TV show claimed to have an EMF meter knocked out of his hand, when in truth, he had thrown it himself. things like that did appear in that article. So take this
They
article.
debunked that themselves.
Yeah,
Remember, they
yep,
came on
yep.
after it and said, "Oh, sorry about that."
Yeah,
But
exactly. So
we're outing him. We know that happened.
But here's the bigger issue with this article. And don't get me wrong, no one should put fake stuff out there under any circumstance. If you do not know this to be true, you should not publish it as a major article for public consumption. But the part of the problem I saw with the reaction with people, and that was why I put it up there. I kind of wanted to see the people's reactions. Well, number one, Zach is extremely polarizing. They either love him or they hate him. That's like with a lot of TV personalities. But another thing I noticed is that a lot of people were talking about using television shows, much like Ghost Adventures, as a training guide to the paranormal. It was never meant to be that. It's entertainment. It was never meant to be the definitive how-to guide of paranormal investigation.
Right.
And that kind of bothered me a little bit because, what about guys like Hans Holzer and Barry Taft and Lloyd Auerbach and other people that have legitimately done long, drawn-out, years-long studies on the paranormal? I kind of said a couple of them, I would definitely be cracking a book here and there. If you really want to get the theory behind the deeper parts of the paranormal, crack the book. See what these people had to say that spent their entire lives studying this phenomena.
Right.
Not to bash anyone, because I know it. I get it. When I was a kid, and again, not to belittle anyone, I wanted to be the Lone Ranger. You know what I mean? When I saw Lone Ranger on TV, I want to be the Lone Ranger. So a lot of it is emulating what our heroes do on TV without questioning what's behind it. Is there more to this? Or instead of just buying the fancy gadgets you see and see the lights blink, we'll find out why it does it and what's the theory behind ghosts themselves, stuff like that. So now I'll get my soapbox here. I'd like you to get your opinion on that topic.
Well, what I noticed, I also shared that article from you, and I put it on America's Most Haunted Facebook, and there was a lot of reaction, lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of reaction. And I was interested to see that much of the reaction was actually pretty sophisticated, saying, all right, well, sure, we already know all this. The details don't even really matter. We know that the shows are, at minimum, exaggerated.
Yeah.
And they are also, to a certain extent, scripted in that, people are told if a reaction isn't acceptable, they frickin' do it again, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, we know these things happen. I would say there is a line where you do not want to fabricate actual phenomena. That is definitely crossing the line. But in terms of reactions and secondary and tertiary stuff like that, I think people are sophisticated enough at this point, unless they're kids, that they don't really care. So It was interesting to see the reactions. People were saying, yeah, okay, well, all that may be true, but we still like the show. It's fun to watch. It's entertaining. So people do seem to understand that a show on TV, its number one job is entertainment. It's not...
I got that as well, but then on the other flip side of the coin, I got people that were just, either hating him for who he is, and that's really none of your business. We don't know Zach. None of us know, unless there are a few of you listening that know him personally. I do not. I don't know him personally, so I'm not going to attack the man on his character, because I don't know him, and nor should anybody else, in my opinion. But it was very polarizing. They hated him or loved him, but a lot of people, my people coming to me and talking about on my own Facebook page, more of a disappointment. Like they saw the man behind they went to Wizard of Oz and they saw him behind the curtain kind of thing. Like
right.
They're disappointed that, everything on the show was not above bar and was not, exactly as things should be. But again, Eric, great point. It's television. Nowhere does it say on the show, this is an educational show. Nowhere does it say this is the how-to of the paranormal.
No, and certainly that show over the years has gone deeper and deeper into production values and into doing recreations, and they put more time and effort just into the look and the feel of the show. And I mean, you can tell it's a show that's been around a long time. It's a very mature show. So they've
definitely. It's a great show. I mean, I've watched a few episodes. I haven't watched it recently, not in the last 2 seasons or so, but I do keep up on it, what's going on. I have actually, not to do favoritism, I enjoy watching Nick's stuff over Ghost Adventures, but that's just me, because we happen to be friends, and that does sway my opinion when you're friends with somebody. But overall, I do find Shepherdstown to be very entertaining.
I think that was a great show.
Sure. That was entertaining. I found Lockdown to be entertaining, and a lot of that is because it's not this normal lockdown or normal investigation. There's more to it. There's like the 72 hours. There's a whole town to investigate. They kept it pretty fresh and kept it moving on those shows to where the Ghost Adventures, man, it's a good show. Obviously it wouldn't be on the air, but also people just need to realize that it is still TV. It's still the same thing. It's TV. There's always going to be editing, and there's always going to be control behind it.
And it's not quote-unquote educational TV.
No.
It's commercial TV.
Exactly.
You're not watching it on PBS.
Yep.
You're watching it on the Travel Channel.
Yeah, if you want real education.
It really is about entertainment.
Come to this show if you want education. No, I'm kidding, of course. No, we do inform, educate, and entertain all at one time. That being said, we're late for break. We'll be right back right after this with the America's Most Haunted Headlines. After Hours AM will be right back after these messages.
America's Most Haunted, The Secrets of Famous Paranormal Places is now an epic book from Berkeley Penguin. History, legends, investigations, interviews, and profiles of America's 10 most haunted hotspots by Eric Olson and haunted housewife Teresa Archie. Be sure to join us on Twitter and Facebook at AM Haunted, Pinterest at America's Most Haunted, and our website, americas-most-haunted.com. And here every week on America's Most Haunted Radio with all the top names in the paranormal field.
This is Jen McGowan, founder of Wayward Souls Promotions, a company dedicated to helping individuals, teams, radio shows, and others that are seeking exposure for their individual events, conventions, and shows. We offer a wide variety of advertising, such as web-based article, social media posts, podcast advertisement, and so on. Contact us at paranormalpromotion@gmail.com, visit us on Facebook at Wayward Souls Promotions, and visit our website at www.waywardsoulspromotions.com.
Welcome back to After Hours AM. Welcome back to After Hours AM, everybody. I'm your host, Joel Sturgis. Right along with me, as always,
Eric Olson.
And Eric, before we get into the haunted headlines, I got to let everyone know that this next segment of America's Most Haunted Headlines is brought to you by, let me cue up their great little plug here.
Do you like things that go bump in the
do.
night? Do you get psyched for psychics? Do you believe we are not alone? Then look into your crystal ball and see yourself at the 7th Annual Paracon, October 12th through 14th at Shooting Star Casino, Monoman. There'll be more paranormal excitement than ever before with special guests from The Walking Dead, Ghost Adventures, and much more. Shooting Star Casino. Big names, big chills. Visit starcasino.com for tickets and complete details.
Yeah, go there, get your tickets for your big names, your big chills, we, of course, will be at Paracon broadcasting live after hours AM, covering all the hubbub and the commotion over there. So stop on in, get your tickets, and come meet us all, and maybe we'll hang out. And we'll talk a little bit, get to know each other.
Yeah, it's going to be amazing. I still can't believe that lineup. It's really impressive, very inclusive.
Yeah, it really is. And, of course, it is time for your America's Most Haunted Headlines, also brought to you by America's Most Haunted, so we cannot forget about that either. And Mr. Eric Olson brings us each week some absolutely cool headlines from the After Hours, or America's Most Haunted Twitter feed. And, of course, you can find all about the After Hours AM shows right there on Twitter. And, of course, I want you guys to go to America's-most-haunted.com to get your fill of all the paranormal goodness.
Well, that is certainly correct. As Joel said, check us out. Twitter, very simple, whether you belong or not, no problem. Twitter.com/AMHaunted. And join the merry band. We are every day covering things paranormal, spooky, and amazement. And, of course, we're rolling into the Halloween season, so there's so much going on. All right, well, speaking of Zach Bagans, who we were just talking about, in relationship to Ghost Adventures, his haunted museum, it seems like we've been hearing about that for years now, it is opening to the public October 2nd, so just a few weeks away, in Las Vegas for your creeped-out pleasure. And looking at the images from the inside of it, God, does he have a lot of dolls and clowns. I think he hates dolls and clowns.
Yeah.
What is he doing to himself?
I hate dolls and clowns as well. And, he's just immersing himself in dolls and clowns. Now, when that opens, you know what we should do? Much like we did the Clown Hotel, we should call that number and see if we can get rude service out of them, too.
That would be amazing. And, of course, the pinnacle of all things that Zach hates, and therefore I guess he is including in the museum, would be combining a clown and a doll. A clown doll!
Oh, yeah, there's nothing worse than that. I'm Pennywise the dancing clown.
He was good. Bill Skarsgård. I found him very disturbing.
We all float down here.
Exactly, and then that applied at the end too. I was wondering how that would be used later, and then we find out at the end.
It's funny because, I won't even go there. It was toilet humor, and I just stopped myself right there.
All the floaty kids.
Yeah, they're not the only thing that floats.
Yeah, they were all just floating. Yep, what they call it, gray water. Look out for gray water.
Watch out for the gray water; it'll get you.
That's a good idea, though. You are much better off avoiding gray water.
Yeah, gray water. Come on. It's just water that happens to be gray. Don't worry about it.
And have poop and pee in it.
Well, technically that is not correct. There is a difference between gray water and sewage.
Okay, tell me.
Now, gray water, technically speaking, is more like your sink stuff, like when you wash your dishes, or you do this, or you do that, wash your clothes. That's more gray water. Now, what they were describing would have fallen into the raw sewage category.
I see. Thank you, Mr. Sewage Engineer.
I'm just saying that's the difference between the two, you see. I used to work for a septic company.
So you would know. You used to work for an everything company.
I did. My father he owned a lot of companies, what can I say, at one time or another, and guess who was forced to work with him? Me. And so gray water, of course, is you have a drain field where your gray water goes. So anyhow, moving along.
Got it. All right. Well, I love this picture. It is super, super creepy. They were able to identify this creature, but Hurricane Harvey dredged this thing up from the Gulf, and for a few days there was, what is it? It's a monster, it's an alien, it's a blah, 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 blah. Check that thing out with all those teeth, and it looks like it has no eyes, and it's super creepy looking.
That is super creepy. What the hell is it?
It's a fang-toothed snake eel.
Oh, I would not want to run into that thing. That thing looks really menacing.
It really, really does. And now, it looks bigger than it actually is.
That's what she said.
Well... Wait a minute. It looks bigger than it really Okay. I had to process that one for a moment. Okay. I mean, it looks like it's huge, right?
Yeah.
You kind of see the waves in the background and on the beach, but it's really, it's kind of a trick of the photograph. It's really only about 1 meter long, so it's 3 feet long.
Geez,
it's
that
not
ain't
small.
nothing. No,
but,
I won't want to get attacked by it. Don't get me wrong.
3 feet is 3 feet, but nonetheless,
Exactly.
it's not 10 feet or 20 feet.
No, exactly. So 3
But
feet.
it's got those teeth. It's
Oh, yeah.
fang tooth. I love the name. It's so
a
descriptive.
nasty looking critter.
Fang tooth snake heel.
Ugh, kind of remind me of an ex-girlfriend I once had. Oof, taking her right down a memory
was she a
lane.
snapper?
Well, she could be. She could be. She'd like to bite me once in a while.
She had
Right on the
those
arm
choppers.
one time.
Oof.
Yeah, she was a vicious thing, let me tell you. Oof, man, it's hell when you're in your early 20s, let me tell you.
Good God, yeah. Good God, y'all. All right. Well,
Y'all.
besides Halloween coming up, of course, we also have the Day of the Dead, which is usually right around the same time. It depends which day of the week, but I guess technically maybe it's the 1st and the 2nd, I think. It's a little fuzzy. Anyway, the Day of the Dead, down in Mexico itself, in Oaxaca specifically, not only do they have the calaveras and the various dressing up and looking like skeletons and the classic Day of the Dead look, but families go spend the night in cemeteries and they hang out with their dead relatives and they put all those candles out. Isn't that an amazing picture?
That is amazing. You never see that. Well, I shouldn't say never. You would not very often see that here in the States.
I mean, that's a density of candles, and
That
it's
is a lot of
outdoors, and
candles.
look at all the
that.
people.
They
It's
look
kind of
so
hard to
happy.
tell.
Look how happy they look.
They're hanging out with their dead relatives, and in a sense, they do not think of them as dead.
Well, no, why should they? They're always with them in their hearts.
Hence the name, Day of the Dead.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
So again, my friends, so that you too may see these amazing images and follow the links, you should go to twitter.com/amhaunted. Moving along. I don't think, when I'm thinking of the really amazing just blast of colors of the fall leaves, I don't think of Japan, do you?
No, not really. Japan, I think about Godzilla. I think about Mothra. I think about, nuclear disasters. I don't often associate Japan with color, and I'm glad to see that I'm completely wrong in stereotyping a whole country.
Beautiful shot from Kyoto, which is actually by far the most beautiful city in Japan. I have been there. And that's where so many of the temples are, the old wooden temples. Just amazing. But the great shot of a temple surrounded by just absolutely glowing red leaves. It's really quite beautiful. So it's a list from National Geographic of the best fall destinations for foliage, and
cool.
Kyoto, Japan is one of them.
Mr. Roboto. I don't know why I think of that every time I see Japan stuff. I don't know why. I just don't understand the correlation in my own mind sometimes, Eric.
I do that.
I scare myself.
Everyone does that. It's weird. And then you try to figure out, why does my brain make that connection?
And that was a horrible song on top of it.
It is a bad song.
That's the worst part. It wasn't like a cool song. It was like Mr. Roboto, and that's about all I can remember. That and Killjoy.
Well, let me tell you
what
the Japanese connection is not wrong, because he says "domo arigato."
That's what it was.
Mr.
Yes,
Roboto.
exactly.
And that's thank you very much in Japanese.
Now all comes together. Maybe I was not insane as I first thought.
No, you're not. All right, moving right along. God, we were just talking about Stephen King films. Well, and I mentioned Misery, the classic with James Caan and Kathy Bates. Oh, my God, was she creepy in that.
I know, especially, of course, the infamous sledgehammer part.
Young and creepy.
Yes, she was. And, I find her, weirdly, in that movie kind of hot. Gotta say, she just kind of, oh, hey there, Kathy. You that hammer in your pants, or you just happy to see
compelling.
me? Yeah, exactly. But kind of found her in a weird way, just kind of attractive.
Coming out on Blu-ray in November is Misery. It's a new special edition, once again from our buds at Scream Factory. There's a all-new art poster super cool new Misery Blu-ray package coming out in November.
Oh, yeah. I'll be picking that up. That's a great film. I have it on DVD, but I got to get on Blu-ray because they always have
to move over to Blu-ray.
They always have the special features in the Blu-ray. I like the catchphrase, Paul Sheldon used to write for the living. Now he's writing to stay alive.
Exactly. All right, speaking of lists, I was surprised there wasn't more responses. I guess people really do. They don't make they don't cross the border with me. I don't make that big a distinction between sci-fi and horror, especially because so much sci-fi is horrific.
Well,
you know what I mean?
Yeah. In fact, the newest sci-fi horror was the newest Alien film, which I thought was actually pretty damn good.
It was scary, and like you said, I remember we saw it. I got the Blu-ray, in fact, and we watched it. I think last weekend, and it gave a lot of the backstory. It filled in a lot of the information, let us know. But oh boy, that David man!
He was a nasty son gun, wasn't he?
I do not like him.
Evil.
Anyway, good list on a site called The Ringer of course, it's in their opinion, the top 25 space movies. I thought it was really a pretty good list.
How does Space Jam make it in there? You tell me how Space Jam makes into that movie.
I would call that an eccentric pick.
That's a strange pick. All right,
That's a very strange.
You got
pick.
great, hell, even 2001 Odyssey is better.
Well, even better. I would put that number 1.
I knew you would. That's why I mentioned it.
Or at least number 2. I don't know. Would I put Alien ahead of it? Maybe. I don't know. I would put Interstellar, which they don't even put in the top 25. That's in their bubbling, that just barely didn't make it. I love Galaxy Quest. That is both hilarious and it actually works as a sci-fi film as well as being a very affectionate tribute. Gattaca, amazing movie. I liked Rogue One pretty well, didn't you?
It was slow. I mean, it was good, but it was kind of even my 11-year-old, who was an absolute Star Wars fanatic, was like, God, this is boring.
All right. Well, I liked it pretty well.
I liked it. I liked it for
her character.
Yeah.
I liked
See, I liked it better than he did because I appreciate the drama elements.
Right.
Where he wants to only hear phasers going, or not phasers, total different genres. He wants to hear the laser guns going, pew, 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 and a Wookiee going,
Right.
So,
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a perfect movie by any means, but I thought it held together pretty well. I enjoyed it. Next is The Martian. I'd move that way higher than 22. I thought that was a classic movie. 21 is Contact. I'd probably move that up a little higher too. Wall-E. I love that. That's one of the better Disney movies of the
that
OOs,
was good.
I would say.
That was a very good film. And by the way, speaking of TV, and this just came out of the wire. I don't know if this is true or not. So take it for what it is, folks. Rob Zombie has been greenlit to remake the Friday the 13th movie.
Oh my.
So
well, there will be mixed feelings about that. Just as there are mixed feelings about his Halloween contribution.
Yes, I was not a fan, to be honest with you, personally. But I mean, it had some good parts in it. But overall, I got to go the Carpenter one. Just saying.
Oh yeah, of course, absolutely, no question. All right, so anyway, check out this list. It's really good. You can pretty well predict what the top 5. 10 probably will be, and there's always going to be disagreement in the order of films, but I think for the most part I would probably agree with maybe 20 out of the 25, which is pretty good. And look how high he puts Guardians of the Galaxy, all the way up at number 11. I agree. I love that movie.
Oh yeah, did you see the new one yet?
I did. We got that on Blu-ray as well.
See, good film. Good flick.
I liked it, but it's not the first one.
No, the first one was better.
Was such a surprise.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
Well, see, I used to read the comics. I used to read the comic books, Guardians of the Galaxy, back in the day.
So you know what to expect character-wise and whatnot. But I just think how well-made it was, the relationships. It was so cool. The tech side of it just really worked. I thought it was really innovative. I loved, like his push-button spacesuit that would just kind of envelop him. All of that was super cool.
Yes, and Groot. I'm Groot. So all you ever hear is Groot.
Gotta love the Groot. So
Gotta love
yeah,
the Groot.
I like the second one a lot. Not much of a drop off, but the first one, will live forever as a classic. I think.
Yep, exactly. Wow, I'm looking a little bit further down, and really, the Stranger Things one you posted. Huh. Interesting.
Let's see. Oh yeah, it's already happened. You're talking about the business side of it.
Yeah, bringing up licensing and contract issues. What's up with
already?
that?
So for the first time, they just haven't really thought about it before. But the amazing success of Stranger Things, and not just kind of the success of it as a show, but as a cultural touchstone, has really caught on, and that has generated all kinds of requests for licensing. So all of a sudden, something Netflix hasn't even really thought about before, because they haven't had a show that demanded it.
Yeah.
But people want their Stranger Things, they they want their T-shirts. They want all of it. All
swag.
pencils,
Yeah.
lighters, the works, hoodies. You gots to have it. Screensavers, whatever the case may be. So licensing has been brought up. So this one could turn out to be that could be a real cash bonanza. So not only, that's why there's all the money in that picture. I love that picture. It's really well done. It shows 11 being showered with large bills. The other side of the coin, I mean, how long did it take before the Friends cast rebelled, banded together, and demanded an exorbitant amount of money per episode?
Yeah.
It took several seasons,
It
right?
did. It did. It took them a long time.
The kids in Stranger Things are already there are hints that they may already be banding together to demand a huge per episode raise.
We want drink boxes on the set. We want Playboys under every mattress.
13-year-olds, and they want the bucks, man. I guess they're being led. Rumor has it, the story says, that it's Millie Bobby who's leading the charge. But man, she's a huge star all of a sudden.
Yeah, that is true. They're kind of overnight success. I mean, look at it. They had one of the Stranger Things cast in there.
Right.
So, they're crossing over.
Yep. Exactly right. All right. Have you ever watched MTV's Scream? I have not.
No. And I know I should, but anything with MTV now, I stay away from. Ever since they stopped playing music, I was done.
It's just too young.
Yeah. No, I'm done. Just done. Yeah.
All right. Well, I agree. I have not watched it either myself, and so I can't really comment on it. But anyway, Keke Palmer, who was in Scream Queens and was had her own show on Nickelodeon before that as a teenager. She will be the star of season 3 of MTV's Scream. Do you know who the new Hellboy is?
Who is the new Hellboy? Ron Perlman is no longer the Hellboy, you're right. But who is the one that's filling in? Speaking of Stranger Things, David Harbour, the sheriff. Really? I almost thought you were going to say David Hasselhoff for some strange reason.
He might be a little old for that.
But really, so the sheriff is now, I don't know, Ron Perlman played that so well.
Well, this is him. Look at the picture. Look how much he looks like Hellboy. That is David Harbour.
No, but what I'm saying, the character, though, when he acted it, just his demeanor. Well, so we will see whether he
and his voice, his great voice.
Exactly. So we will see. And the thing of it is, Ron Perlman already kind of looked like a Cro-Magnon man in a lot of ways.
He does.
So so it didn't take much makeup to make him look like Hellboy.
Other than, just make him red.
Exactly. That's about it. And pop a couple of horns on his head, and there you go. We got Hellboy. And it was really, the budget was $5 for his makeup.
That is a very good point. But if you think about it, now picture David Harbour. So he's the sheriff.
Sure.
On Stranger Things. He's kind of like a hulking figure as well.
He is, but I also remember when he was a nothing actor doing character parts in Law and Order.
Oh, he's been around forever.
Yeah,
Around
so
a long time.
Look how long it took him to hit. I mean, years, like 20 plus years.
I know.
Yeah, but that's cool, though. That is cool. It'll be interesting to see. I like the Hellboy movies. The second one, not so much. The first one, I really liked. The first one.
I did, too. I thought they were fun. I agree. I liked them. All right, we've talked about this each week now for a while, but it really is kind of a miraculous mission for this Cassini, little tiny Cassini spacecraft. It's been in space for 20 years.
20 years in a space.
It went
oddity.
all the way to Saturn. I think it took 7 years to get to Saturn. It's been circling Saturn and Saturn's moons, weaving in and out for 13 years now. It's taken amazing pictures. We've learned an enormous amount about Saturn and its moons, including the fact that one of them may be the absolute best shot in our solar system for life.
And now we have
tomorrow.
To kill it. Now we have to kill it.
We're killing it tomorrow.
Yep. I want to play Space Oddity all the way down.
They certainly should.
They should. Right down to the last second. Just blaring that classic Bowie tune. You know. Hello, Major Tom. It's ground control. Okay. I didn't even know the words, to be honest with you, but I did try.
That was similar.
It was similar. Come on. You're a singer. Come on, Eric. You've never regaled this audience of your chops.
Oh, I have too.
Oh, you have not.
I just did earlier tonight, man. I was singing the P-Funk
You did.
song.
You did. You're right.
Get up, forward, the downstroke. Everybody get up.
You did. Do you ever cover a Bowie stuff in the props?
Yes.
Oh, good to hear. Good to hear. Good man.
We absolutely do. We do Suffragette City.
Okay.
And we used to do Heroes. And let's see, what else? There was one more. What else do we do? Oh, Rebel, of course.
Well, yeah, of course. And then, of course, maybe did you ever do, I don't know, Spiders from Mars? You know what I mean? Ziggy Stardust?
No, but I have in the past, the distant past, I was in a band way back in college that did the Bauhaus version of that song, which is much heavier and more metally.
Yeah, wow, cool. I've heard that one as well. And what's Starman is another good one. Hey, we could go all night on Bowie again, but we won't.
Yeah.
And what's next on the old headline chopping blocks?
All right. Well, again, it is holiday season. It is Halloween season, I should say. We are deep into it now. The first of the haunted attractions are opening this weekend, Halloween Horror Nights on both coasts. Florida's been cleaned up enough that they'll be opening at Orlando and in Hollywood this very weekend. And so we're looking at costumes and whatnot. Now, the way this article was put together is, oh, my God, look how creepy these babies look in these costumes. To me, they just look cute as hell.
They do. They're little kids, and they're dressed up for Halloween. Come on. They're not creepy
and
a bit.
they look cute.
They do. They're adorable.
There's a Frankenstein. There's a werewolf. There's a creepy clown.
I'm going to dress my little guy up in something. I'm not sure yet. Maybe I'll make him into a baby zombie.
Oh.
You know, just really, or something cool, you know, and something to be feared. You put some bangs on his head, you know. Do something. But no, I'll probably get one of these costumes. I will check them out because I still have to buy one for him. But I'm thinking the Wolfman looks kind of cool. I think he'd rock that real well.
That one.
So, yeah. Thank you, Eric.
All right. Now, there was a band, kind of a punk band, kind of a thrashy band called Trotsky Ice Pick.
Oh, yeah.
Back in the 90s. Have you heard of them?
I have. You got to remember, I was a metal head. I was a metal head in the 90s, man.
You were. You surprised and impressed me last week when we.
Oh yeah.
When we had our thrashy guest on.
Oh yeah, man. I was all about that kind of music. Still am in a lot of ways.
Life of Agony.
Great band. Really, honestly, they are a great band. Check them out. You'll like.
What a fun coloring book. Oh my goodness.
I know. Did you get yours in the mail?
No, I haven't yet.
Me neither. Hey, now.
I don't think it's out yet. I still don't think it's out. I think they were waiting for it to be published.
I see how they are. They don't give us sneak peeks. Mm-hmm.
I know. Well, we did get the PDF. Anyway, the actual, real Trotsky Ice Pick, in other words, the murder weapon of Leon Trotsky down in Mexico, is about to go, with blood stains on it, is about to go on display.
Oh, I thought it was going to go for sale.
No, it's going on display.
It's
been locked up in a box for decades.
Really? It's going to be a macabre display of true
crime.
Yeah,
it should go in Zach Bagans' museum, right?
Yeah, it should. It should. He's got everything else that's cool out there.
All right, speaking of it, I know we got just a second here, and I think we may have already talked about this. Do you realize the last time it was on the screen, it was the TV miniseries, 1990.
I do.
When did it come out this time? 2017. 27 years later. How often does Pennywise appear?
Oh, yes, 27 years. I get the correlation. It was not lost on me. I tell you. I know, it's strange. It's strange. But we got to run the break, Eric. We just got no more time when we come back. We're going to be talking about everything ghostly, and it's going to be a lot of fun. Don't go anywhere. We're going to be talking with Scott Porter. Sorry, I don't know why I said Potter. Scott Porter, we come back. Tennessee Wraith Chasers. Don't go anywhere. Be there or be square, my friends. After Hours AM will be right back after these messages.
Ranger Station, Ranger speaking.
Yeah, hi. I'd like to report a bear sighting.
Location.
My backyard.
Oh, your backyard. Try telling a bear that.
I did, and this bear talked back.
Talking bear, that's rich.
No, wait, it was Smokey Bear.
Smokey? Why didn't you say so?
I did say so.
Continue.
I was burning yard waste.
No, boy.
He told me to burn legally and responsibly, and to remember that if it's too hot to touch, it's too hot to leave.
And as always, he's right. 9 out of 10 wildfires are caused by humans. That means 9 out of 10 wildfires can be prevented.
Yeah, I know that now.
Thanks to me.
Actually, thanks to Smokey.
As usual, the talking bear gets all the credit. Get your Smokey on. Always burn responsibly and contact your local fire department for open burning regulations. Because 9 out of 10 wildfires can be prevented. Brought to you by Smokey Bear, the U.S. Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council. Learn more at smokeybear.com. Only you can prevent wildfires.
This is Jen McGowan, founder of Wayward Souls Promotions, a company dedicated to helping individuals, teams, radio shows, and others that are seeking exposure for their individual events, conventions, and shows. We offer a wide variety of advertising, such as web-based article, social media posts, podcast advertisement, and so on. Contact us at paranormalpromotion@gmail.com, visit us on Facebook at Wayward Souls Promotions, and visit our website at www.waywardsoulspromotions.com.
Welcome back to After Hours AM. And welcome back to After Hours AM, everybody. I'm your host, Joel Sturgis, right along with me,
Eric Olson.
And everybody keeps asking me who that bumper was. Well, that was Midnight Syndicate, my friends. Your official Halloween season mix master generals, man. They make some phenomenal music that's featured in some of the biggest and best attractions throughout America. So check out Midnight Syndicate at, of course, midnightsyndicate.com.
They're my neighbors here in Northeast Ohio. Did you know that?
I did not know that. We've had them on the show several times, and I get asked every week after people listen, who was that? Who did that brooding, scary stuff? You talk about the show? No, we already know you're scary. I'm talking about the really cool, scary stuff. All the music. that was Midnight Syndicate. Okay, cool. And then, that's it. But tonight we have a great guest on tap. And I know, Eric, man, you're the best intro man in the business, so I'll hand that off to you. But I am really enjoying the new show, Haunted Towns. I really am.
All right. Well, me too. Speaking of haunted towns, from infamous hotbeds of paranormal activity like Gettysburg and Salem to small towns with turbulent pasts that have fueled generations of ghost stories, Haunted Towns explores places home to some of the darker chapters of American history, where war, natural disaster, and injustice have condemned unsettled spirits to lurk and roam. Ooh. The Tennessee Wraith Chasers, TWC, ghost hunting team is expanding their scope in this all-new series as they travel across the country investigating America's most haunted towns. Follow TWC, Chris, Doogie, Porter, and Brannon as they interview witnesses, investigate hotspots using the latest ghost hunting technology, and follow new leads until they can pinpoint who is haunting the town and why. But the team isn't just about collecting evidence. They seek the truth behind the legends that have shaped each town's paranormal notoriety. The 8-episode first season of Haunted Towns premiered August 15th and runs Tuesdays at 10, 9 Central on Destination America. Towns explored in the series include Gettysburg, Salem, Savannah, Georgia, Vicksburg, Mississippi, Bisbee, love that town, Arizona, Fall River, Massachusetts, McDonough, Georgia, and Cape May, another spooky place, New Jersey. Boy, I couldn't have picked 8 better towns, my friends. Absolutely. Speaking of our guest, we can't say Scott, but that's his name, Porter. Porter became fascinated by the paranormal after experiencing something unexplainable during his college years. One morning, he awoke to the smell of breakfast filling his family's house. He saw who he thought was his mother in a pink robe cooking at the stove. He left the room to clean up before grabbing a plate, only to return to find the kitchen empty. Porter then realized that his entire family had left earlier that morning to run errands, and his mother didn't own a pink robe. Shock! He now studies other strange occurrences and looks to historical record and the Bible for answers. Porter brings an analytical mind to the team and quite often plays the devil's advocate when studying evidence. Welcome to the program, Tennessee Wraith Chasers, Porter.
Hey, thank you, guys. It's a pleasure to be here with you tonight.
Now, do you prefer Scott or do you prefer Porter?
You know, I'll answer to anything as long as you don't call me late to dinner.
Man after my own heart right over there. That's what I tell people. What do you prefer to be called? Well, anything but late for dinner. No, we were during the intro, of course, Eric went over your experience, seeing someone cook in your kitchen when you're young adult. Things like that. But another thing that piqued my interest is I want to kind of ask you this right off the top is I've noticed watching the shows that you are a very healthy skeptic. Not a cynic, but you are a skeptic. And how important, in your opinion, are skeptics to this field?
Oh, I think being skeptical in this field or being a skeptic and being in this field is very important. There's throughout history, we have, as mankind, have used supernatural or paranormal occurrences to explain things that we don't understand. And I think that when we have an occurrence or something that happens, I think we need to question it and really dig into it to try to isolate whether or not it's something natural to the environment or it truly is something supernatural that we've experienced, one of those, true unexplainable events.
Great answer. I agree. I'm also a skeptic. I believe that you have to be a healthy skeptic, not a cynic, but a healthy skeptic.
Right.
Open to
Occam's razor.
Exactly. Open to anything, but just not willing to fall for anything. And
you got it.
A lot of people I've run into over the years, people are just kind of new into the field. Everything's haunted. Oh my God, that's haunted. That's haunted. That's haunted. That's ghost evidence. and you gently say, well, maybe it was this and not that. Good try though. Keep trying, but I think that maybe that was a piece of dust and not an orb. Or I think that that could have been a car on the freeway in the distance in that EVP and not a demon growling. Things such as that. So, I do believe you're correct, and we need to have that checks and balances. Otherwise, everything is haunted.
Absolutely. Perfect example. Remember we did an investigation years ago, and this particular gentleman, he had a photograph of an orb that he said was Robert E. Lee's ghost. And as I started examining the photograph and we zoomed in and cleaned it up a little bit, he said, "You see, you can clearly see the beard and the eyes." And I'm like, man, this looks more like a bug to me. And we kept looking, and he was adamant that it was a beard and the eyes and the nose of Robert E. Lee. And I pulled up online, I Googled a microscopic image of a gnat, and lo and behold, the gnat matched his image of Robert E. Lee in that orb. So I think what he did is he caught a picture of a gnat, but he was dead set that it was Robert E. Lee.
Maybe it was a Robert E. Lee gnat.
Exactly, it's Robert E. Lee.
Hey, now we're talking about reincarnation as insects, so I'm not real sure where we're going from here.
Yeah, you never know which way we're going to go here. Either that was a gnat or a very handsome gnat, or it was dust. It's one of the two is going on here, but it is not Robert E. Lee. Although I do enjoy his beard that he seems to be having.
He had a fine beard.
He did have a fine beard, and the gnat should be proud. Let me tell you.
Yes, he should, to be compared.
Yeah, exactly. Now, you guys have the new show, Haunted Towns. Eric alluded to that, of course, in the intro. How is that going to be different than, let's just say, Ghost Asylum, which was another smash hit? What's going to differentiate these two shows?
The main thing about Ghost Asylum is that we were going around and hunting and doing these investigations in some of the darkest places, most haunted places around America, and in going in there, we were implementing these experiments to try to capture energy or verify that there's energy was contained within that experiment and that we could move it from one location to the other, i.e., trap a ghost. Or offer a mode of transportation to transport a spirit away from one location to another. But not necessarily spirit, but the energy. I think there was a lot of confusion with vernacular and explanations that went along with that. But nevertheless, that was the concept behind the show, which was something that we had always talked about. The one thing that we looked at when we were looking at the show is that it didn't really showcase our personalities that much, in that we enjoy what we do, and we take what we do very serious, but we don't take ourselves especially seriously. So we'll cut up and carry on a whole lot, because everyone knows that the spirit world does not work on command. It works on its own timeline, and sometimes you sit in the dark room for hours upon hours, and there is nothing in there making a noise except for the beating of your own heart and the rumbles of your own stomach. So there's a lot of time in there to feel, to have a little bit of fun with each other and to cut up and carry on. And then sometimes that prompts the paranormal activity to fire up. But the unique thing about Haunted Towns is that we're not just looking at one location. We're going into these towns, and we're looking at some multiple haunted locations that have some type of a connection with the spirit phenomena, the paranormal phenomena that's going on there. And we're digging into that connection and trying to see if we can find that connection in historical documentation. And then we're experimenting and investigating, trying to find that connection or answers to that connection through the spirit world interaction. And so what you do is you see a lot of history about locations, a lot of exploration of the locations, and then you see us investigate, and you see us kind of get the willies every once in a while.
Yeah, go ahead.
As it should be, because without willies, what have we?
Do you really want me to answer that?
You're only left with cooties. You're only left with cooties if you get rid of the willies. That's the problem. Therein lies the problem. That's right there.
Therein lies the problem.
Therein lies the problem. Now,
perhaps it's two different meanings of willy.
Well, maybe there could be, and I don't want to explore that with you, Eric. I like you and all, but that's just a road I don't want to go down.
I got it. I got it.
Then he becomes Erica. That's just how it is.
Yes, then we would have yet another woman on the show.
Or like the vampires in The Strain, when they turn their differentiating features fall off.
Oh my God! I don't want to become one of them. I'll tell you that much right now.
That's a pretty good show. It's almost
Lord. Yeah, it's a good show. But you talked about being yourselves, and in my own experience, ghosts are just, by and large, are just people. They're dead people.
Yeah,
they're people. So if you're yourself, you're personable, and you have a personality, and you're not afraid to converse with them like they are people. I have found over the years that, man, it really helps with the activity, because then they want to become a part of what you're doing.
I mean, that's one thing. You get in there and you're going through the motions of an investigation, and so many people get stuck in the rut of going in and asking the questions. What's your name? What killed you? Why you doing here? Who's your mom and them? Just all the standard, just monotonous questions. And it's like, sometimes you just get in there and with a few good buddies, and you just start having a good time, and lo and behold, something else wants to have a good time with you. And then other times you have things that come along that are a little bit different, and maybe they want some quiet time, or maybe they want something else, and and they'll show themselves. And you never know what you're going to come up. I mean, we've captured some of our most phenomenal evidence when we were just having a good time. And then all of a sudden these things show up and they want to make themselves known. They're like, hey, why aren't you paying attention to the stuff I'm doing? Well, maybe I'm going to have to do something a little bit stronger, so you start paying attention to me. And then what do you get? You get that full-body apparition on video, or you get that, those photographs that are just undeniable, and you're left at the end of the investigation looking at that and going, wow, I didn't even see that happen then. And I'm sitting
exactly.
I'm sitting there getting the chills talking about it.
Well, I was going to say, Scott, I mean, we've talked before, and you're a very down-to-earth individual, very great guy. I got to ask you, though, have you ever been scared? I mean, really scared in a location? Because, man, some of those locations, you guys went, especially Ghost Asylum, I'm like, oh, man, I'm brave, but I ain't that brave.
Dude, I'm going to tell you what, there's been several times when, you really have to question your sanity. You sit there and you're looking and you're going into these dark places that have such a negative dark history or have such a bad history, and and little things happen that kind of unnerve you. I can remember one time that we were filming in Missouri State Penitentiary, and I walked around a corner, and when I walked around the corner, I looked over and I saw this pair of boots sitting kind of in the shadows off to the side, and I thought, it's one of the crew. And so as I walked past, I was like, I don't remember anybody having old boots on like that. I turned around, went back and looked, and there was nobody there. And I mean, it kind of sent a shiver up your spine, and then there's been times when even this season filming haunted towns. I mean, you're going through places and you just feel that there's something there with you, and it really starts weighing heavy, and you start thinking, man, I don't know how much longer I'm going to be able to stay in here. I'm going to have to go out and collect myself and come back, because right now it's kind of getting to me. I mean, we're human, we just happen to have a few more experiences with the supernatural than the average bear, but we're still human, and we still get unnerved.
You're exactly correct. I've been in locations to where I was in there for a period of time, and it starts to wear on you. You even start to feel oppressed yourself. And then you leave to go do whatever, get a bite to eat, collect yourself. And it's like as soon as you leave that location, you take that deep breath and you feel like you're going to normal life again. But then you go back and you're immersing yourself right back into the shark tank. So I've been there. I can definitely sympathize you guys.
Hey, one of the things that's so great about you guys, and why I'm sure you got another show, and probably we'll continue from here, even if this particular show ends, I imagine you guys will just parlay on from there because you're such a great team. So the dynamic within the team is really cool and really seems very well oiled. How do you see yourself? What role do you perform within that team dynamic, particularly? Do you think?
Well, I mean, the thing is, it takes a little bit of everybody to make a team work. You think about how other teams work, and everybody has their role, and so you have to fit into that role. I mean, my interest lies in history. So I like to research. I like to dig into what's happened in a location or what's happened in a town. And try to find those obscure things. So many people look to the history books and the documented history and they put all their eggs in that basket. But there's so much history that's handed down from family member to family member that's never been documented in any of these history books. And so, sometimes you take what's in the history books, you take what you get from personal interviews and interactions with people who have lived there for many, many years, perhaps even since the town was there. You have some old families that have been in towns all their lives, the lives of the town, that is. And so they have these stories that have been passed down, and you can take those and kind of brush those up against the history documentation, and you start drawing, you start to see a picture. I think you have to be open to that. It takes someone who loves that to really dig in and find those, and that's one of the things that I've always done. And we all have our roles as far as the business goes, and trying to keep the business side of things going, and we all kind of fit into that kind of mold. But when it comes to investigation, it takes all types. It takes the person who knows the technical side of things, that wants to research the technology. It takes the person who wants to get out and talk to the people and kind of build those relationships and that allow you to be able to get in and do a thorough investigation, sometimes in many locations. So it's my role. I fit in there where I'm the digger. I get in and dig in, kind of put the profile together of what we're looking for, who we're looking for, and how they connect to the locations we're getting into.
Exactly. And of course, history, it's just so time consuming, though. And a lot of people don't do it anymore like they used to. And my God, I remember the early days, you'd have to go down to the Historical Society before the internet was around and just flip through every newspaper or hit the microfiche. You're looking for that one little nugget. Would you say the internet has revolutionized the way that you look at history? Has it made things easier?
Oh my gosh, it has definitely made things easier. The thing about it is, used to, what you had to do is you'd have to go out here and go to the archives, and you'd put on the white gloves, and you would pick up these documents and these books that were the ancient books, old books, stuff that was around when Washington was president. And you look through this stuff, and it would take hours upon hours. But now you can go to the internet, and by either purchasing access to certain databases or certain web crawlers or certain information crawlers or whatever you want to call them, you can get in and you can start digging by keywords, and so you're taken straight to what you're looking for. And then you can look at related pages and related information, and you can kind of start putting it together. It really has sped things along, and you can do it from the comfort of your own home or your hotel and your PJs while you're drinking your coffee, and you don't have to worry about offending anybody if your PJs are not publicly approved.
Exactly. No, exactly. That's the beautiful part of the internet, is that PJ situation you just talked about. But I hear it time and time again. Not everything on the internet is true and correct. Now, how many sources do you verify through before you call something historically accurate?
Well, I think, if you're going to call something historically accurate, you've got to really find it in several places. But the problem you run into there is trying to verify stuff to say it's historically accurate. Like I said before, you go and you pull the historically documented and approved historical documentation, the approved historical information, and you brush it up against this more risque, maybe only documented in one location piece of history. And you have to evaluate, okay, is this something that could have happened? And if it is something that could have happened and not just something that's manifested by someone who is wanting to stir the pot or whatever, how would I go about supporting that information, or how could that person have supported that information? And then you just have to look at it, because there's so many things that were experienced by individual people that may not be able to be verified, but they are in fact a piece of history. So can you call it historically significant? I don't think so if it's only from one source.
Sure.
But it may be significant to the research that you're doing, so you have to take it into account.
Yeah, take it for what it's worth at that moment. And then hopefully you find more of a smoking gun, so to speak, as you go to really track that down.
Right. It kind of points you in a direction, and, you never know. You may find additional information that may support that that piece of information you found there that's more questionable.
Well, what's the most shocking thing, Scott, that you found historically that you thought for sure was going to be absolutely false, but then you looked it up and realized after several sources cited it going, holy crap, this really happened?
Oh my gosh, that happens all the time. There's always something that jumps out at you, either a macabre story or a dark story that pops out that that you're like, man, I mean, really, how does one come to find out this stuff? How does this come to happen? And then as you start digging, you find out these little tidbits. I think one that really stands out in my mind is that, you start looking at, say, Savannah. I mean, it is publicly known that there are bodies, buried. There are people buried underneath the squares in Savannah.
Yeah.
And all around Savannah. Anywhere you walk in Savannah, you're probably walking on someone's body, on someone's bones, whether their grave. And then you start, you dig in, you start getting stories. And there was a gentleman there that we were talking to who worked for the utility company. And his tale was that they were digging a trench in one of these locations, and they started hearing this strange noise. I think we even mentioned it in the show. But he heard this strange noise, and he couldn't figure out what it was. And so they were trying to determine what they were hearing as they were digging, and what it was the backhoe or the trencher going through the bones of the bodies that they were digging through. And he said the only thing that I can say to you to make it to sound what it sounded like, he said it sounded like a wooden spoon in a garbage disposal.
Oh my gosh, what a description.
That's graphic.
Yeah. I mean, graphic. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we got that covered now. Wow, man, what a description. Yeah, it sounds like a wooden spoon going in the garbage. I know, because I've done that several times with wooden spoons.
Yeah, no kidding. So, you hear stories like that, and when you start digging, you put all the pieces of the puzzle together, and you're like, wow, man, I mean, this could be really true.
Yeah.
Even though you're only getting it from one source, you think about it, and man, you think about bone. You think about how bone is made, and the structure, and then what it sounds like if it breaks or whatever. And you're like, golly, man, this is really accurate.
That's so true, man. Even though it's weird, it is accurate. That description.
Of course, I've worked in the medical field, so I kind of get an idea of what bone sounds like.
Sure.
When there's problems with bone, but yeah, that's it's like, wow, that was one heck of a description. Like that.
Yeah, that's one for the memory books.
Now, I'm really interested. I mentioned it as an aside during the intro. Is what an amazing collection of towns that you guys came up with. Now, it seems like kind of they're more all leaning toward the darker side of things. Have you found that to be true? I know you don't want to give away. I think we're only about halfway through the season so far, and I don't want to give too much away. But are you finding most of these locations leaning dark, or have you been surprised? In either direction, that the spirits, are friendlier than you might have anticipated, or otherwise.
I think what we find in a lot of these is that there are dark histories surrounding some of them. There are other instances that may connect to them that are dark. But you also find that in some cases there's a little mischievousness there to whatever's still hanging around. This group of towns that we did for season 1 of Haunted Towns, it tends to lean toward the darker side of things, or the more violent death, or more questionable types of occurrences that happened in life that made the spirit connection to the location. Mm-hmm. As we go through the rest of the episodes, we go to Bisbee, Arizona. We've been to Bisbee, Arizona. We go to McDonough, Georgia. There was a train crash there that took a lot of lives. You're going to see us at Lizzie Borden's, and everybody knows the story of Lizzie Borden. And that was, and that's a very interesting episode there. That's going to be really, really neat. I think everybody's going to like that one. Cape May, New Jersey. I mean, it's Cape May is a beautiful place. Mm-hmm. And it's very, very, very deep in spiritualism there. And I think that as you start digging into the history and what's caused the connection, you start seeing how these things fit together. And maybe there's a little darkness to it. Maybe there's a little mischievousness to it. Sure. Maybe there's something there. I'm not going to say that they're all dark, but there's all of them do have a dark overtone to them.
Yeah. And that's something.
Do they cast a pall over the towns? I mean, do you find that there's kind of this unseen or even seen, I suppose, for that matter. But is there some sort of overall presence or tone that envelops these towns?
It's curious, because you go in and you kind of start going down one road, and a lot of these towns have more than one. What do I want to call it? One more than one catastrophic event, I guess you would say. Mm-hmm. That's one of those shocking events that has occurred. And so, we're trying to go down one of those roads and just find out where it goes. And sometimes the road turns, and you end up going down a different direction. But it's the stories that we're researching, the stories that, a lot of people around town know. And a lot of people around town have either talked about over the years, or they've chosen to try to oppress that knowledge over the years. And so, it's sometimes it's difficult to get people to talk out about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think there is a tone that is set. Some of these towns embrace it. Some don't. I mean, you look at Fall River, they've embraced the Lizzie Borden occurrence. That's one of those things that's kind of out there, and people come, and it's like a destination for people to go to. Yep. Salem is definitely a destination for people to go to. I mean, gosh, I remember reading about the witch trials. When I was in grade school, and thinking, gosh, I've got to go to this place.
Yeah.
I mean, Salem was a bucket list location for me, and they've definitely embraced it.
They have embraced it with their
time.
Arms and their legs and their feet.
I mean, even the fire trucks have witches on the side.
Yeah, exactly. It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. Well, we got to run a break. We come back. We got more Scott Porter with us from Tennessee Wraith Chasers. And, of course, if you haven't seen the new show that they have out there, Haunted Towns, go to destinationamerica.com. Check it out. And I know you're going to love it. And it is just so well put together. And the guys are so genuine. You're definitely going to want to check that out after this show is done. And I'm sure you'll agree. Be right back with more Scott Porter right after this. After Hours AM will be right back after these messages.
Hi, Tom Bodette. If pop culture is to be believed, roughly 40% of all people are actually vampires, or dating one. Well, undead or not, you can always save on a clean, comfortable room at Motel 6, even if you sleep during the day because direct sunlight turns you into a pile of sparkly coffee grounds. Speaking of which, we have free coffee every morning. You day sleepers may want to go for the decaf. I'm Tom Bodette, and we'll leave the light on for you. Book online at motel6.com.
This is Jen McGowan, founder of Wayward Souls Promotions, a company dedicated to helping individuals, teams, radio shows, and others that are seeking exposure for their individual events, conventions, and shows. We offer a wide variety of advertising, such as web-based article, social media posts, podcast advertisement, and so on. Contact us at paranormalpromotion@gmail.com, visit us on Facebook at Wayward Souls Promotions, and visit our website at www.waywardsoulspromotions.com.
Welcome back to After Hours AM. And welcome back to After Hours AM, everybody. I'm your host, Joel Sturgis. Right along with me, as always,
Eric Olson.
And tonight we're having a blast talking with Scott Porter of the Tennessee Wraith Chasers. And they have a great new show on Destination America, of course. That's Haunted Towns. You're going to want to check that out. Go to destinationamerica.com, and right there you can stream some episodes and take a gander at what they're doing. It's a very, very well put together show. Very interesting, going to these towns that everyone's always wanted to get to. If it's on your bucket list, you can vicariously live through them, like going to Salem. That was crazy going to Salem, man. Everything over there is haunted. Great time, great show. But you know, Scott, one thing that has been a hallmark of the show pretty much since the beginning is the traps you guys utilize. Who comes up with these paranormal traps, and do they actually work?
You know, man, I'm going to tell you what. The concepts behind the traps, Brannon comes up with a lot of this stuff. We have talked about a lot of them together, and we kind of brainstorm. There's been several occasions where we've put this stuff out there, and when we've used it, we look at it, and then there's an energy there afterwards that wasn't there in the beginning, and we can't figure out how it got there. So I think one of the ones that really stands out to me is, our very first pilot episode. That was called Ghostland, Tennessee, or Ghost Asylum, the beginning. We used that Devil's Toy Box, and, we did some research on it, and, we really wasn't really expecting anything major out of it. It was about, let's implement this thing and see what happens. And then lo and behold, something kind of got connected to that thing. And so it was an interesting concept to come away with. And, we talked about how to handle it, and we had producers that were wanting us to blow it up or do whatever to it. And, we dealt with that a little bit differently than what they wanted us to, but we got it squared away. But the interesting fact of the matter is that other occasions where we had implemented these concepts, looking back at in history of what people would say that this is how this particular binding works. So this is how this particular person is confined to this location, or how this spirit is confined and connected to this particular inanimate object. And we try to take those concepts and then put them into these experiments. I know that one time we were at Scottsville, Kentucky, and we had a capacitor on an energized gate there, and we were using some solar panels, and I don't know how Brannon came up with this thing, but he did a good job with it. And we tested the IR lights to see if they would charge the capacitor through the solar panels, and we saw that they wouldn't, so we knew we were safe there, and our flashlights didn't charge it either. And so we had this thing set up, and we were in there communicating. We had some activity going on, and then all of a sudden the meter we were using to measure the capacitor energy, it quit working on us, and we're like, what in the world's going on here? It's brand new batteries. There's nothing wrong with it. It's a brand new meter. All this stuff was new. And so we put new batteries in the meter, and lo and behold, the capacitor had this huge charge on it. And then as we were reading the charge with the meter, the charge is dissipating, which, I mean, some of the charge will dissipate as you read it with the meter.
Sure.
But it was just running out like crazy. We're like, what is going on here? And number one, the first thing you have to think about is, how did the capacitor get charged? Because there was no light in here to activate the photoelectric cells in that solar panel to cause it to charge the capacitor. So what happened? So you start trying to make, you deduce from what you know, and then you have to say, okay, well, maybe there's an outside force here that we don't know. So did we actually capture some type of spirit energy? Maybe we did.
Yeah, well, for argument's sake, let's just say, Scott, you guys did. Okay, let's just say you have the ghost, and there is, it's every evidence is there, including EVP, you name it. Anything that anyone might throw at me later on to make sure that I covered all the bases. Right. The listeners, okay, you covered all these bases. What do you do with the ghost once you actually have the ghost? Do you set it free in some game reserve? And what do you do with it once you have it?
Game reserve, I like that.
Well, you
know, petting the ghost.
Exactly.
We have the Ghost Containment 8000 unit that we really use, and the latest version is the Ghost Containment 10,000 unit. We just plug them in there. No, just kidding. I'm kidding.
Who are you gonna call?
Wraith Chasers. Yeah.
But the thing is that we're still learning. We don't know what we've got here. Just like with the instance of the capacitor, by the time the night was over with, it was completely empty. So, was this thing that is not bound by our laws of physics, science, biology, mathematics? Was it able to move into this device as energy? Show us that it was there, and then leave on its own free will.
I want to say you're right on that one, because, see, here's why. And I remember, I think we discussed this a little bit last time, and like you guys, I've been doing this a long time. I don't even have the answers. No one has the answers. But I think that if an entity can transcend time and space, it should have no trouble leaving that trap. I mean, if it can go through walls and it can go through time, space, do everything, it is there at that point in that trap, in my opinion, under its own free will. So therefore, it's not unethical. Absolutely. Because some people in the paranormal hierarchy were like, well, that's awfully unethical. No, it's not unethical because it's there. You know the people. That's very unethical of you to do that. No, but what it is it's there on its own free will. Maybe it is interacting with you for a reason, and when it decides it wants to go, it goes.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the devices and the instrumentation that we use to communicate with the supernatural entities. We have all these devices that read energy. What happens? Energy interacts with it. Energy goes into it. Energy is used to illuminate a light or to make a sound to let you know that the entity is communicating with you. Not unlike that, our devices do the same thing. They allow the entity to enter into it under whatever free will there may be. It's able to interact with us through that device and then move on its way. I mean, that's why we called these things, later on the show, we were like, they're not really traps. And we really fought about that vernacular because it was just easy to say and it rolled off the tongue. But I don't think that anyone really understood the far-reaching consequences of using that terminology. And so as we moved into the latter episodes of Ghost Asylum, we tried to retrain. There were ways to, for the spirit energy to get in there, for us to take it outside the walls of where it was at and see that it was still there, and then possibly take it back to our headquarters and test it and say, hey, okay, we've still got something here, or no, it's already gone on its way, so... that's what you end up with. But yeah, we did catch some grief because of the trap word. Yeah. It's like it's a 4-letter word, so it falls into that category.
It's a naughty word. You don't say that.
How about a perch? It's a perch.
A perch?
What?
Yeah, there you go.
Put a perch in there with a beak sharpening thing that's stone and maybe a little swing. You know me and birds. I hate them. But
oh my gosh!
Exactly, though. I mean, you use a trap. That's such a strong terminology, and of course, people right away. When I first heard it, I thought about 13 Ghosts. Remember that movie and that tale? Like, really, a trap? Cool. We're gonna be able to go see them behind glass. Yeah. But
just had to put on special glasses.
That's right. That's right. But what you're saying makes perfect sense. I think more. I look at more along the line as a very sophisticated detection device that allows the entity, the ghost, whatever you prefer to call it, to go in there and operate under free will and really show itself that way to you guys. And if it wanted to leave, I'm sure it could leave. It's not like it's on, it has to apply for parole or anything.
Exactly. I mean, we have video of visual spirits, humanoid shapes walking through walls, shape shifting and moving into the other stuff. I mean, I love it how people tell me, well, physics just doesn't allow that to be trapped in there. I'm like, do you really think these things care about our physics or our science or our biology? They don't care about that. They're beyond that. We are ignorant to the fact of how far-reaching their abilities are.
Well, we'd like to think of science from our own perspective, being stuck in this bag of bones that we call bodies.
You got that right.
None of us realize or know or anything until someone actually does come back and say, hey, this is what it's like to be dead, guys. It's great. We don't know truly. Bring the kids and the wife. It's a wonderful time.
Physics? We don't need no stinking physics.
But, we don't know.
The grass is green on the other side.
Exactly. Look at this place. It's great. Nachos 24/7. But we just don't know what it's like to truly be dead. And we think of physics and science with our bag of bones that we call the body. And so just because we can't do it does not mean those that have passed cannot.
Correct. I mean, you look at, people, I love it because, we can even get far-fetched here for a moment, because I've had people ask me if I believe in aliens. And from a religious standpoint, and from that standpoint, I don't know if I could say that I can support it through religion and through faith, but there are so many things throughout the eons of time that we have found that people have used supernatural occurrence or supernatural entities or religious entities or religion or whatever to kind of explain naturally occurring phenomena. And as we evolve as a scientific community and a scientific world, we find out that there's other things out there to explain those things that we use supernatural phenomena to explain, historically speaking. I mean, that's what the witch trials were based on in Salem.
Yeah, exactly.
Somebody had a skin tag. Oh my God, they must be a witch. Instead of using a pair of clippers to clip it off and send them on their way.
Yeah.
God,
that's brutal. Come here, I'm gonna cut that thing off of you. Don't move now. It's really sharp.
Yeah.
But I know exactly what you mean.
Oh, you're bleeding. You're bleeding a little bit, but you're no longer a witch. But the thing is that as we start thinking about this, we're still learning to understand our world, not the universe, but our world. We're still discovering new species, new elements. New cures for diseases and things that that affect us as human beings, and there's such a world of discovery just in our little world, and our minds cannot fathom the expanse of the universe and how many other unknown elements and energies are out there among us.
Yeah, exactly.
And when I say among us, I'm talking about in a stellar environment. And so to say that there is nothing that will explain certain things that we perceive as paranormal or supernatural is kind of cutting your nose off to spite your face as far as an intellectual community. I think that one thing of being intellectual is you have to understand that we don't know it all yet. We're still discovering, and what we know today may not be accurate when we learn more about tomorrow. And so I think that's part of discovery, and that's part of what we try to do as TWC.
I agree. I agree with you 100%.
Yeah, really, really well said. I just wanted, before I forget, what you were saying is so true, and it makes so much sense, and you're absolutely right. It puts the whole thing in perspective. I just wanted to add, not only species, elements, etc., all the things you named, but we're also always finding, or persistently finding, new forms of energy. And my goodness, what might spirits be but simply an alternative form of energy that we just don't know how to measure yet?
You're exactly right. And Brannon and I can remember he and I speculating. It is speculation, but we were talking about it outside my house one night. And as we were talking about this energy and how to measure it and how that it might be possible to contain it, and people are like, you can't contain spirit energy. I'm like, well, we contain energy in a battery, so why couldn't we contain this other energy? Because it may not be spirit energy, it may be something else.
Yeah.
And then I was talking to Brannon about it, and I said, there's the thing about it is we're made up of energy. Our bodies have this energy, and I believe we also have a soul, we have a spirit, and so my faith tells me that when we die, that our spirit, our soul goes to one place or the other, depending on our relationship with God. But my scientific mind tells me that there's an energy there. What happens with that energy? Does that energy transcend out into the universe, and into our world? Does it remain with some form of interaction that's capable of interacting with humans? With us, the living, and to make us think that the spirit still walks the earth? Or is there some collective of energy out there that is able to move around that we have not discovered yet, that just does not have a biological home, that is trying to communicate with us on a different plane that we can't comprehend because we have not discovered it and understood it yet?
And that's funny you mention all that, because everyone from Edison to Tesla to you name it have tried to answer that same question right there. No one has been able to, and that's part of the pushing the field further and further and further. So I don't mind seeing the use of traps, quote unquote traps, and alternative methods of measuring. And and trying to push that envelope, because I'm all about furthering the field, because, forever we were doing it just like we saw in '04. Yeah, I mean, when the first television shows hit, everybody did the same way, kept on doing it the same way. And we look today, and there's been no further, really anything further in the field in a long time. So, like I said, I really not opposed to using that kind of stuff. And I think that if more people think outside of that box, we might have a better understanding of how things work.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing. I've talked to several people about it, and that we, as we're trying to figure out other ways to measure and other ways to capture evidence, is that we've got to think outside of what the paranormal box that we have right now. So many people are trying to make this device better, or doing a spin-off of this other device that measures the same energy that gives you the same thing back. I think that there's going to have to be some other type of discovery or some other type of application that we use to try to find the next level. I mean, I would love to be able to go into Elon Musk's office or his closet of failed ideas and try to apply some of those to paranormal energy. That guy's got it going on. Modern day Tesla.
Exactly.
And I mean, I think that if we start looking at it from those different angles, we may find some other answers. We may not solve everything. I don't think we'll ever solve it all. But I think that we could find more answers to the questions that we currently have.
Scott, you know a ton. I mean, you really do. You're very well versed in this field. And a lot of people, they see on TV, but they don't think, hey, he's got years of research behind him, years of studying, and that's something that gets lost a little bit in the shuffle. In your early days, and you got on this paranormal path, who were your role models? Who did you look to for inspiration and thought and feeling, and of course the theory behind everything? Who was your go-to person?
I mean, I think over time it kind of developed. It kind of evolved as I had experiences, as I talked to other people that had experiences long before television, was thought of. I mean, as far as reality TV shows, I watched horror films, of course. I don't watch those anymore because they tend to play with your psyche, and your mind plays tricks on you when you get into these places. But,
sure.
You look at some of these guys that were studying energy. You look at, look at Edison. You look at Tesla. You look at Bell. You look at these great discoverers. These inventors and what they were doing. They were on the cutting edge, and people thought they were crazy. And so when you look at these guys, and they had a very deep interest, a lot of them did, into the paranormal, into the supernatural, and then that was one of their things. And then you start moving forward, and you get into where you've got the shows that are coming on TV, and you're looking to the people who are out there, and that's what you have to go on. I mean, I remember watching Ghost Hunters and Jay and Grant when they had their show on years ago, and thinking, daggum, man, this is some of the stuff that I've been thinking about. Is like, how do you capture evidence of something that's going on in these people's houses? I want to experience that. So it kind of drives you to think, okay, well, maybe I can do this someday. But for me, it was kind of one of those background type ideas that just I put aside while I was, going through college. I mean, working on the associate's degree, working on the bachelor's degree, working on the master's degree, and then you get tied up in life and you kind of forget about it. And then lo and behold, an opportunity opens with a group of guys that you've been buddies with for a long time to go out and try to pursue this stuff. And, and it's, it becomes enjoyable, and it becomes a fascination, and it fuels that desire to learn.
Well, I remember the first time, someone I kind of looked to as I was trying to figure things out was, he became a good friend of mine later on in life, Barry Taft. And I remember cracking that very first book that, and I will say it right this time, Eric, that chronicled the San Pedro haunting. And what he thought that was, man. I mean, that really fueled me. What was this? Why was it going on? And it left so many more questions than answers. And so, of course, I got on the phone, way back when, and I got on the phone and actually called up Barry. And he was running a department of parapsychology at the time. And I said, hey, I'm a 10th grader over here at this high school. Just got done reading your case study on the San Pedro haunting. Was it real? And he stops. He says, kid, it was so real, it would turn your hair gray. That's exactly. Whoa! All right then. All right, and and we talked for about 2 hours after that, just bouncing questions off of him, and that was really, and it's important to have those mentors. And you'd mentioned the early discoverers of this stuff, like Edison, Tesla. Those are the forefathers of the paranormal that we know today. And it's really important to look back at our history, and it gives us a better grasp of where we need to move forward.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, that's the thing about it is that, and we even see that in society today. So many people want to cover up our history. They don't want to acknowledge our history. And, and when you don't acknowledge history and you try to erase it from modern day, then we as a society are destined to repeat that history because we're not learning from it. Mm-hmm. And I think that that's very important with, not only in the paranormal field, but in society as a whole, is that we have to look at our history and learn from it so that we can become a more versed society as we evolve and move forward.
Hey, real quick, I'm sorry just to interrupt, just looking at the time, and unbelievable as always, only 5 minutes left. It's come up several times now that you definitely have and bring a spiritual side overtly to these investigations. That's relatively unusual that that you're as open about it as you are. It seems like a lot of investigators are almost embarrassed of it. How does that fit for you, and what are your thoughts on the connection between kind of the scientific or quasi-scientific and the spiritual side, or even the religious side of pursuing this world?
I mean, that's one of the things that I had a real battle with internally when I first started, was because, throughout my history, my spiritual history, my faith, it was like, you don't mess with this stuff, you just leave it alone. And I'm like, well, the thing is, though, is if you leave things that you don't understand alone, then how do we learn? How do we move forward in our learning? And so, I think that's one of the things that I had to look at and then kind of compartmentalize and say, okay, my faith is here. This is what I believe religiously speaking. This is where my relationship with God stands. And, over here, I'm not seeking the answers to unravel God's plan or the universe, or seeking for personal gain. I'm seeking to find answers to help everyone along the way. And if somewhere along the way I'm able to prove and say, hey, there is a spirit world out there, so you might want to think about this religious side of things, then maybe that's what my job is. Maybe that's my connection. But, it's like I tell people before, I keep my faith is over here, my science is over here, and I will experiment and do just about anything in science once, maybe twice if it doesn't kill me the first time, and to try to discover and figure out what answers to these questions that we have. Because the people that have made discoveries, some of those people were very faithful people, and they had their faith, and people questioned their sanity and questioned their faith, but they continued to go down those roads and made great discoveries, but yet still maintained their faith. And that's where I'm at, and that's where I try to be open about that, and that I have a firm belief in God and my spirituality, and that doesn't affect my ability to think from a scientific standpoint.
Balance, my friend. It's balance as well. Balancing yourself, balancing the way you think, and knowing your own limits, and knowing, where you want to go and what you're willing to do. And I respect that immensely. Both Eric and I are both good Lutheran boys, so we get you on that side. We definitely get you there. You know what? We only got like 2 minutes left, so if you tell the audience where they can get a hold of you, talk to you if they want to, and see the shows, that'd be great.
Oh, absolutely. Watch us every Tuesday night. We're on at 10 p.m. Eastern Time, 9 Central on Destination America. If you don't know where that channel's at, you can go to destinationamerica.com, and there's a channel finder on there where you just plug in your information. It'll tell you where to go. Also, you can go to Destination America Go and look up some of the episodes on there. For us individually, you can look me up on Twitter and on Instagram at Porter TWC. My fan page on Facebook is TWC Porter. You can shoot me messages there, and I'll try to answer you back. I've got a pile I've got to answer, and I'm working through them as fast as I can. The other guys, you've got Doogie TWC, Chris TWC, Brannon TWC, and Mike TWC. respectively on all social media, and you can reach out to us at any point in time you want to, because we're always available.
Very cool. Very, very cool. Hey, really quick, any advice for the would-be paranormal investigator out there?
Question everything.
No.
Always look and question everything. If you see something and you think that it's supernatural, question its supernatural presence. You know, I mean, I can't tell you how many times that I've seen something and thought, oh my gosh, there was someone who just walked through this kitchen, and that was their spirit. That was the ghost. By definition, it was a ghost. And come to find out that you start doing research and you look at the whole picture and you see that the neighbor is pulling into the driveway and backing into their driveway. Their lights are coming across the bay window. It's hitting the angle in the curio cabinet where it's hitting a lead glass figurine and projecting that lead glass figurine's figure across the room. And lo and behold, you move the figurine, your ghost is gone.
Yeah.
Question everything and look at all the surroundings, because you may find an answer. And if you don't find an answer, all you can say is it's paranormal by definition, the normal, just not yet understood.
Exactly. Well, we're at the end of another show, Eric, and I'd like to thank our guest, of course, Mr. Scott Porter from Tennessee Wraith Chasers. And we'd also like to thank the audience, again, that have come out and made us one of the hottest shows on radio, Eric. Again, there we are, and we cannot thank you enough. Without you doing what you do, we couldn't do what we do. Until next time, take care of each other, love each other, and want some Wraith Chasers.